Now, chiefs participating in active politics. This conversation seems far from end. This week, the Otumfuo Osei Tutu II has been admonishing chiefs to adhere to the law and stay away from active partisan politics. Not many, however, agree with him on that stance. Diochihene Osajefo Amotiaforiping is on record to have been contesting the section of that law that bars chiefs from engaging in active politics. Now, here's what he said in an interview he granted my colleague Winston Amoah during the 2016 election season on TV3.
Fair. I have a problem with that.
Tell us.
Because I didn't get this by government. Government is not paying me. This is a family business. The people of Achim elected to do this. I'm not drawing any insurance or health care from central government. And if the job is in Accra and I want to apply, why should I give up my family stool? Unfair. Secondly, the active policy that you're talking about, Winston, if a party is campaigning and in their manifesto, they write, we are going to engage and encourage gay marriages. I sit here and a party has that in the manifesto. Or better yet, a party says that we will continue to give small-scale miners license to mine. You want to tell me because the Constitution says that I cannot engage in active policy, I would tell my fellow, my people, don't vote for this party. Because it's a disaster to have gay marriages. But in their constitution, they wanted to shut up, not say anything publicly. I can't call people privately and tell them that this is what they're going to do, so vote against them. I need to hold a debba. It depends. I mean, I don't understand. The ones about the civil servants, I do understand. They draw their paycheck from central government. So you cannot hold central government pay job and take a pay and still try to apply for another job. We are not there. I buy my own petrol. I don't ask government to give me anything. So if I decide, or any of my chiefs decide that, well, I think I'll be better serve my people if I become an MP. You are saying he can't, but he has to give up what his family's property. I think that's unfair, but it's in the Constitution. Until we change that, we'll see.
Now, this was sometime in the build-up to the 2016 election. Winston Amoah, my colleague here, was then at TV3. Quite recently, we've had the Diochihene endorsing a second-term bid of President Akufo-Addo. So we ask, is it time to revise our law? In its current form, is it necessary at all? What does the country stand to lose or gain if the law on chiefs engage in an active partisan politics is revised? Joining me now is lawyer Yawapong for some legal thoughts on the matter. Thank you so much for your time here this morning, and it's great to have you share your thoughts with us. We've had the Osajefo or the Diochihene speaking on this matter, though 3 years ago. I think it's safe to say that he still stands with that notion he shared, clearly because of what we heard him say about the president when he paid a visit to him recently. Should we revise our laws? Is it antique?
Well, thank you very much. In the first place, the question, well, maybe the first question is whether or not there's anything wrong with the law. And if so, then what is the remedy for it? And if you may permit me, the provisions of the law that directly come into play here is Article 276 of the Constitution, and if you read clauses 1 and 2, the one says, if you have time.
Sure, please go ahead.
The chief shall not take part in active party politics. And any chief wishing to do so and seeking election to Parliament shall abdicate his stool or skin. And the 2 says, that's the 276(2). Notwithstanding clause 1 of this article, which I just read, and paragraph C of clause 3 of Article 94, that one also says that chiefs are disqualified from contesting as members of Parliament, and by extension, President. of this, a chief may be appointed to any public office for which he is otherwise qualified. So if we highlight what I consider to be the key words, which I think are active party politics, then in my view, merely endorsing a person based on his good work and recommending him to be voted for in an election or based on his track record, I do not think it meets the threshold or the mark set by the eminent drafters of the Constitution. They knew of these things and therefore were careful not to say that chiefs should not just take part in politics. They said active party politics. We all know what active party politics means here.
Let me just come in here. So talking about the bit of endorsement and looking at what we've seen on the campaign trail and for both the president, President Akufo-Addo, and the largest opposition's running mate, John Dramani Mahama, we've had chiefs endorse sometimes their policies, and we've had chiefs ask subtly, sometimes not bluntly, their subjects to vote for a certain candidate. Doesn't that amount to campaigning? And is campaigning not active politics?
Well, I think it's debatable, but my understanding is that if a particular chief, as they do, tells his subjects to look at the work a particular person have done. We all, politics is about engagement in policies, application of policies, and getting more for your people in accordance with law. If they believe that if they look at the work done by various participants or various candidates and ask them to choose the one whose works have largely benefited them, I don't see that to be active party politics.
So just to be clear,
in other words, just a second. What rather the moral aspect is that if you are a chief and you openly ask your subjects to vote for a particular person in clear terms, you are inviting those who do not want to or support that particular party to be disrespectful to you, and that may be the danger in terms of the moral situation. But as far as I'm concerned, merely asking your people to look at the work of all parties and not isolating one or all candidates, not isolating one, and vote according to the work they have done and what they expect them to do, I'm not sure that meets the mark set by the Constitution. Okay,
so just to be clear, you've admitted that this law may be ambiguous, right, in terms of in response to my question about whether campaigning amounts to active politics. You said that's debatable. So,
yes.
So just to be clear, are you saying that the law in its form is fine, or we should expand it to cover issues like the gray lines that are not very defined, like campaigning, etc.?
Well, I'm saying that if a chief, for example, wears a particular political party colors, or a particular independent candidate colors, and stands on a platform and asks people to vote for a particular chief, or as it used to be under the 79 Constitution, where chiefs even contested to go to Parliament, that clearly violates the law. But when it comes to a chief asking their people, as they do, to consider the work done by a particular candidate and vote according to what they see or what they have observed in terms of development and what they expect, I do not think that, in my understanding, it meets the mark. And therefore, the law clearly has no problem, except that it depends on how one looks at it and how one leverages in terms of the law.
Let me move away from strict law and just take your thoughts on this. In our country, we know that chiefs are sometimes mediators in political impasse. So you spoke about the moral argument earlier. Let's bring the moral argument here too. How does a chief mediate in circumstances like that when you have that chief coming out to endorse a particular political party?
Yes, so I'm happy we are moving from the state law. But so that it's the same thing that I said. So even beyond mediating between political parties, the people in his community may not belong to one political party. I don't think any exists in this country. So if there's a problem between the two, and the chief being expected to be an independent arbiter may have associated himself clearly with one political party or one independent candidate, there may be a problem. Of course, mediating between or resolving disputes between political parties, strictly speaking, is not one of the functions of a chief. But they have played this role over the years. And that is why if a chief would even encourage his people to consider a particular person, candidate, as independent person or not, they should choose their words carefully. Not to ask them to choose a particular person, but to consider the words and vote according to their conscience, the development they see. Of course, the people too are independent-minded and they are discerning. So the fact that a chief would even ask you or encourage you to vote for a particular candidate does not mean that you must of necessity comply with it. After all, you go to the box alone and you vote in the secret.
I appreciate your time, Lawyer Yao Opong, sharing his thoughts with us on this subject that appears will not end soon, Chief's involvement in partisan politics.